Hello, my name is Bruce Fehn, and I'm an Associate Professor of Social Studies Education here at the University of Iowa. And I want to thank you for visiting my webpage. And since you are visiting my webpage, you probably already know that I work with students who want to be history or social studies teachers, and they want to teach courses such as political science, psychology, economics, and history. And my specialization, in fact, involves history teaching and learning. And in the courses that I teach, students and I work to understand how we can teach history in exciting ways and engaging ways, in ways that hold students' attention while deepening their understanding of the past, what happened and why it happened. Amazingly, and I'm quite amazed at, since I do love history, that a lot of people don't like history at all and they think it's boring. And in fact, it's widely regarded, and we know this from research, that it's the most boring class according to surveys conducted with people who remember history as an adult. They think history was just awful. But at the same time, that when they leave school, they love history. They constantly are visiting historical sites. They flock to history museums like the World War II Museum in New Orleans or the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. They go to historical sites, Civil War battlefields. They are constantly going to historical movies. I think arguably they've learned more about history from Daniel Day-Lewis than they have from any other historian. On television, millions have watched Ken Burns and his documentaries, such as his documentary on the history of baseball, his most famous documentary on the Civil War, and he did another remarkable documentary on jazz, and he did a great one on boxing as well. So why do people love history when they're outside of school, but find it terribly boring, apparently, according to surveys, while they're inside of school? Well, my students and I are determined to correct the situation, to make history exciting inside of school as well. And so to do so, we emphasize an active learning approach, an approach where students are involved in producing history and not just consuming it through textbooks and trying to remember facts, which is a very inefficient and ineffective and boring way of learning history. So we have students get involved in simulations and actually handling the stuff of history, the historical documents, the pictures, the photos, and all of this material is widely available online, and we have our students use it. We also have students engage in documentary making, and that's really right now is where I focus my research, which is historical documentary making. I've already mentioned that people find documentaries and historical films extremely interesting, and they go to them by the thousands. And but we're interested also, besides figuring out how to use films and watching films to make history interesting, how we can make history interesting through actually producing films, because students now can make documentaries. So our students are now in my classes making documentaries about the Civil Rights Movement, the Civil War, the Vietnam War. Teachers are having students in secondary classrooms who know this technology are having their students make documentaries about these kinds of topics. And that's really something we're beginning to emphasize here in our programs at the University of Iowa.